United States Senator Ben Sasse. Good morning, Senator. Great to have you.
Good morning, Hugh. Thanks for having me on.
I hear you're going to the Nebraska breakfast. Are you going to promise the return of college football to Nebraska?
It's sort of an eschatological truth that people know without my promising, but it'll be there.
It's going to come someday, huh? I want to cover two things with you. You got a new bill on protecting born-alive babies, and you've got concerns about coronavirus. Take them in the order you'd like to, Senator.
Well, yesterday we got to, thanks for having me on, and two really important topics. Yesterday I got to chair the Senate Judiciary Committee on my Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which is an amazingly simple piece of legislation. It says that babies are babies, and when babies survive an abortion, they should get the care they need. It's kind of self-explanatory that whether a baby's born in a hospital with a fancy state-of-the-art NICU unit, or if you're a baby born in an abortion clinic in a strip mall, if you survive an abortion, you should have a fighting chance at life. And right now, federal law doesn't criminalize killing these babies passively by denying them care. It's called the stepping away tactic, and we need to get this passed. Last year, we got a majority vote and a bipartisan vote on the Senate floor, and we have a president who's willing to sign it. But the Democrats filibustered the bill last year, so we were able. Some of them said that they would consider voting for it if only there'd been a hearing to explain it more clearly. And we're like, all right, then. Lindsey Graham and I and Mitch McConnell got together, and the Judiciary Committee yesterday was dedicated to letting people ask any and all questions they wanted.
Did any Democrats come?
Oh, yeah, but mostly to just repeat Planned Parenthood nonsense talking points that had nothing to do with our bill. So you had people giving, I don't know, maybe pushing half of the Democrats on the committee came, and they would give speeches about euphemisms about the importance of second trimester abortion, third trimester abortion. I am happily and proudly pro-life, but this bill doesn't have anything to do with abortion. There's no restrictions on abortion anywhere in the bill. There's nothing about second trimester, third trimester. This is about babies that are already born and whether or not you have to provide care to a baby who's alive on a table gasping for life.
You know, they would not stand. They sat on their hands, Democrats did, when the president inveighed against late-term abortion in the State of the Union. I think that telegraphed to the country that all the Democratic Party is radical now. It's not about early abortion. It's not about first trimester or first 2 months. It's about radical autonomy for the mother.
Yeah, we've seen some really crazy language in that. I'm happy to say I've not watched 1 minute of the Democratic debates, but I've read the after reports, and you see some of the stuff that Mayor Pete has said, some of the stuff that Bernie Sanders has said, and it is just crazy to be in the grips of the abortion industry like that, where you can't even talk about the facts that are before you. And I think it's pretty significant that 82% of the American people oppose removing medical care from viable babies after birth, and that includes well over 3/4 of so-called pro-choice or pro-abortion rights Americans as well. So I think the Democratic candidates are listening to the echo chamber of the abortion industry, and they're not actually talking to real humans on the street, because America's becoming more pro-life because there's more sonogram and more imaging technology. And it turns out when you see what happens in utero, you start to say, wow, that baby looks a lot like a baby. Maybe I should rethink some of my positions.
Yeah, the blue bubble is thick indeed. Good luck getting through that. Coronavirus. China says 45,175 cases, 1,115 deaths, 4,774 recoveries. But what if it's a 10x error? Meaning, what if they're lying to us? Do you think they're lying to us, Senator Sasse?
Well, that's a evergreen comment. Secrecy, denial, and lying are not bugs in Chairman Xi's regime. They are features. They're the ways that he tries to hold his people down. So I don't know the facts. We don't know the facts about how many more people may already be infected, but I believe their number of 60 million in lockdown is probably a floor. And so this is obviously, far more dangerous than SARS, which 17-ish years ago was thought to be the kind of pandemic people had worried about for decades, and then ended up, though a lot of people suffered, it ended up not being quite as bad as it could have been. I think in this case, we have a situation where you could end up with a plague, and this happens because this is not just a natural catastrophe. This happens because the Communist Party is committed to holding power in ways that deny other people's humanity and dignity, and just the reality of agency. When you had a doctor who was trying to raise red flags about this early on, and he was threatened and ultimately imprisoned and detained, he's now dead. But that happens because Chinese officials didn't want to act for more than a month, because if you warned other people that they were having this disease starting to ravage a geography, they thought that would harm Chinese honor, and they would rather be able to lie about it.
And when I see headlines like at CNN's Business right now, is the coronavirus peaking? Investors are hopeful. I'm reminded in 1918, 100 years ago, they thought it was over twice, and twice it came back in more virulent forms. I just think our guard isn't high enough, Senator Sasse. Last word to you.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think we have to recognize that we've got a long-term 10 and 20 and 30-year problem with the Communist Party of China, and there are going to be so many things that flow out of their new surveillance state, techno-authoritarianism, and the ways that they oppress their people are horrible on their own score, but also because of the way it'll overflow beyond their borders.
Senator Ben Sasse, have a great time at the Nebraska breakfast. Tell him that Joe Ordunia and Johnny Rogers are alive. They ought to get him back, because, it's just one of those things. Otherwise, I think Northwestern's going to beat you like a drum. And that's really going to be